Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All
No video.
All right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world.
It's the end of the year, so it's always just that busy time when trying to wrap things up, and you'd always hope that it was a little calmer, but always seems to be pretty frantic.
It's like a mad dash to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey,
There's Kenny.
are we here? Well,
Kenny?
yeah, sounds like you two are here. I'm not quite here yet.
Yeah. I'm
okay.
here. We're just talking about that because it feels like a mad dash to the end. So I think I'm here in body. But it's just it's getting all so many things to do.
There's just so much shit going on, right? There's so much shit going on.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's Christmas shopping too, which I haven't even started.
Oh my God.
You know what? Just buy him a trip.
Well,
Just buy him a trip.
I thought I'd buy him a dog. Start with that.
I've already done that. You can't do that. That's like pre-Christmas. That doesn't count.
I know, but it's still got to be part of the Christmas present, I think.
Are you going to be able to work that in, really?
Wait, you bought him a dog?
No, tell them the story of how you get a dog, and then we'll introduce Richard. So tell the story first.
So we had a dog. He died 3 years ago, and obviously heartbroken. Everybody's heartbroken when there was a member of the family like that, and so we weren't going to get another dog. That was enough. My wife basically had said, I'm the one who does all the work. I'm not getting another dog. Yeah. We got a call out of the blue from a breeder in Texas saying, by the way, we tracked you down. We have your dog's half brother in Texas, and sort of took us really by surprise, because who expects that? The dog died 3 years ago, and it turns out they had frozen our dog's dad's sperm.
That's
weird.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah. So we said yes, and I flew down to Texas to grab a dog.
It's either that or you just got the best sales pitch you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
Never thought of that one.
Right?
Exactly.
But he flies down to Texas, Phil, and drives home.
Yeah. Because you can't drive with a dog.
You're talking to the right guy. Like I would.
That's why I love this story, because it's the total Phil.
Yeah. I have, and I would do something like that. So I support you in traveling wherever you got to go to get what you need and then come home. So I'm all good there.
Yeah.
But
it was a 30-hour drive, from Texas through New Mexico, through Colorado, through Utah, through Idaho, through Oregon, Washington, and then home. And I was saying to Kenny, the most interesting thing about the drive, and just hardcore drive, but driving through those towns, those small towns in America, they're all boarded up.
Yeah.
It's the strip malls, the gas stations. Really interesting to see.
It's shitty, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of scary when you really look at it, though, right? Yeah. It's interesting out there.
The American dream isn't working that well.
Well, it's working for some.
It's working for the rich, right?
It's not working for all,
but not for all, for sure. Yeah,
I think
the economy's
forget that though in the States, right? There's a lot of people living in at poverty or in that area. I mean, I'm not talking 10%. We're talking probably a fifth.
Yeah.
Of that country struggles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, driving through those little towns, and I'm not sure, clearly there's not a lot of people live in those towns anymore. Yeah. But just driving through them, and then driving through Salt Lake City, which has got 10 lanes each way, and for 25 miles, it's interesting. I don't know if it's what's going to end up happening to those little communities.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Salt Lake's definitely interesting. Yeah, it's built like it's built
like it's supposed to house New York, right? But it isn't New York capacity.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting ready for it.
Yeah, sure.
See, look at them. They're thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe come on, Phil. Give them some credit.
Okay. All right. Give
them some credit. Just work with the people from Utah. They gave it a best shot.
I think that's an amazing story, though. I
wanted the dog, and it was the only way to get him. And he's a part of our family already. Yeah. It's been less than a week, and everybody's super stoked. And he's such a nice kid, so we're all real happy. Yeah, but you know, to have the chance to have a sibling of a pet that you loved is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
I think that's pretty slick. I do too. I think that's the cool part. The stupid part is going to Texas and driving home, but the cool part is what you went for. That's pretty cool.
That was stupid. Yeah.
Well, it's just I'm not convinced that's the brightest.
There must have been a whole bunch. Like, I mean, you know, that's not a simple drive either, right? Like there are parts of that are like up and down, up and down, up and down. Like, you know, you're not driving across the prairies or anything like that.
No, it was a little bit sketchy late at night, and pulling a 24-hour shift in, you know, for snows was probably not the smartest thing. But anyway, beautiful country, just gorgeous.
Yeah,
Moab, all of that. I mean, if you ever want to go on a beautiful camping trip, I mean, down into the Moab it just looks spectacular.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Wow, that is the best sales pitch we've ever heard on this podcast in 100 episodes. Is we've got your dog's half brother, come get him. I think it's the best sales pitch ever. And then honestly, the dedication of driving 30 hours, like that is the best opening story we've ever gotten on this podcast too. So,
So you crushed it already, man. You
haven't done anything, to you're already
killing it.
Yeah, right.
You're killing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I frequent listener, never participated.
Oh,
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. At the end of the day, like I told you, man, I mean, to be prepared for this show is just foolhardy because the two hosts are never prepared. So if you come prepared, like you're already a mile ahead of the two hosts. So.
Well, I haven't done anything. I mean,
you're on par.
Then you are.
Yeah,
right
it can't be any worse than us then.
Yeah, right there with us. Kenny, you want to do some intros?
Yeah, I'll just do a quick intro so that people know who we're talking to tonight. So I brought my buddy Richard Pollock on, and Richard's the CEO and co-founder of Ener-C, which is, Richard will explain it better in a moment, but it's an effervescent multivitamin with high-dose vitamin C that comes in 7 amazing flavors, non-GMO product, super cool, great way to drink more water and have that water do so much more for you. It's a cool product, and Rich will explain it a little bit more. But what Phil and I were talking about originally when we wanted to bring Richard and people like Richard on is Richard's sort of the classic entrepreneur. I've known Richard now 12 years, Rich, maybe a little more.
Oh, no, 15? I think. Yeah, 50, maybe even 20, bud.
No, not that long.
Well,
really?
So yeah, I mean, when did you take the merchant seat in London? I mean, probably.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
like 10,000 years ago.
Well, yeah, eons. Yeah, I think it was like 2000. I met you the first time.
Wow.
Holy Christ! Okay, that's 19 years ago. Almost 20. Yeah. Okay, well there goes that. Apparently I don't know how to do math. That's good. That's all good. I'm just tired of this age thing. You know what? I've known Rich about 10 years. I'm pretty sure it was not 20. I thought it was like 2010, 2011. I'm pretty positive on that.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter. It's my story, my show. I can say whatever I want. And I was probably about 12 when I met him. So, but I met Rich at that time. When I met Rich, so he was he had the rights for distribution for Emergency, right, Rich, in Canada?
Yeah, we started Emergency in Canada. That was sort of how we. Yeah.
Pfizer takes it over a number of years later. Rich comes out, starts a new product line, and basically up to the game. It's a similar product, obviously, to Emergency, but without even me being involved in the product line, it's a much better product. But the whole reason for bringing Rich on and people like Rich, Phil, was mostly because what we usually talk about is to give any people an idea of the trials and tribulations of being an entrepreneur, all the shit you go through to get yourself up and running, the cash flow problems that we all run into, the marketing problems we all run into, the resource problems we run into. It's just the everyday stuff. So this product is well established in Canada, definitively in the natural health world. It has some play in the traditional world, and we're continuing to expand and push the hell out of this product. But I think it's just good for people to hear the story of where Richard started, how he got there, and really a lot of the trials and tribulations that have happened and continue to happen. Just the life of the entrepreneur. So Rich, that's basically my introduction to you. I've known you long enough. Apparently it's been more than 10 years, apparently.
Feels like
that's okay.
Feels like 3 years.
Well, it felt like only 10 to me, apparently. So I guess that's pretty good.
It's a brand new relationship. Still
Exactly.
fresh. Still fresh.
You guys are hilarious.
So I don't know if Rich, you want to start, maybe just give us a little history of how it started, why it started, and where it's at today, and then Phil's a better question asker than me, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you want me to start in the journey, because it's just been lifelong, pretty much. I mean, this company is one of several that I've had. I mean, but sort of in the natural health field, I sort of got into by accident in '98. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I started my entrepreneurial career at 7, charging kids 25 cents to come into my backyard and see puppet shows.
Nice.
Nice. So
yeah, it's in your blood.
That's a cool start.
Yeah,
it's in your blood.
So
that's
graduated to throwing. Well, I'm very proud of it. They were extremely illegal, but very well run parties in high school. Okay. We used to bus kids out into halls and throw punk shows and serve alcohol and things like that. But we always bus the kids. We never tell them where it was going, so we hired buses. And
oh, really? That's very organized for a high school student.
Well, we had good legal advice. My dad was a lawyer, and I shared everything with him. And he's like, "Listen, if you're going to do this, you're going to get in trouble. But here's how you mitigate the amount of trouble you get into." So, as a 16-year-old kid, a 17-year-old kid getting advice on liability was a really great early lesson. And just said, listen, no kids drive because a kid will get hurt. Yeah. Kids get on buses and you charge them extra.
Yeah, and what kid is going to really consider cost at that point, right?
Yeah, nobody.
You're going to drive me to a party. It's kind of exciting because I don't even know where it is, right? And then I'm going to go there. I'm going to get to party my ass off, and then you're going to drop me right back where I began. So I'm in no trouble. I got no worries about getting there, back and forth, all that stuff. So it's amazing.
So it's fun, and that gave me the taste. I mean, I think back to those nights that we threw, and I guess we did it 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And I just think about counting the money at the end of those nights and just being so excited with my, 16-year-old partner, or he was probably 17, he was a year older, and just like laughing, because it was so much fun and we had such a good time, even cleaning the vomit and all of the cups and spilled beer off the floor of the Ukrainian hall out in the middle of nowhere in Alberta. But yeah, that sort of gave me my start. And then came out to Vancouver and went to school and was in law school for a week, and got a call from a friend of mine saying, listen, I've got the exclusive distribution rights to Labatt's Blue in Eastern Europe. Do you want to come over and help me?
Yeah.
And I called my dad, same lawyer who had advised this, and said, please don't be a lawyer. Defer your year at law school. I'm going to lend you some money for the flight. And built that business in Eastern Europe, and then took Rainier beer. I don't know if you guys remember Rainier.
I remember Rainier.
Rainier beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great ad.
I mean, my dad knew that beer. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Just aging us again. Awesome. That's fantastic. So we took that beer to China and we started selling frozen commodities and things like that. But then Labatt's got bought by Interbrew, which became ABN InBev. And then, long story short, we participated in that transaction because we held the license for Rainier and Labatt's. So they both got sold. So sold that at 25 and then sort of did a few other things, lived in Ireland, aerospace, more entrepreneurial stuff, but not really focused, and then ended up coming back here working for a law firm that I was doing acquisitions, mergers, and divestitures, just working for a lawyer, not as a lawyer. And one of the companies that he was working on was doing a divestiture, and I was working on that, and I knew I was going to get a bonus. And one of the contracts sitting there was a contract for a product that most people know now called Ener-C, which is a vitamin supplement drink, vitamin C drink. And so I said, listen, give me this. I'm not going to work for you guys on House Street. It's gross. It's public law, and in Vancouver, the public markets don't have the best reputation, and I'll leave it at that. And really wasn't what I wanted to do. And so anyway, I ended up getting that contract and partnering with the client who held that contract. And at that time, that was 1998. We hadn't sold a box of or a packet of Ener-C, and by the time it was sold and we owned the Canadian license for it, again, it was sold in 2012. It was a $10-11 million brand in Canada.
Yeah, it was a really great brand too. We're actually really sad to see it go to Pfizer.
Yeah, well, I'm not. It gave a great opportunity for us. My wife and I went to our happy place because we were lucky. We had a little bit of money, so we went to Hawaii, and I was sitting on a beach. Exactly, right? It's heaven. I was reading a Harvard Business Review article on water, and once again, not to age you guys, but
age us, okay.
But in 1982, there was one water on the market. It was a niche water. It was called Evian, and it was used by mostly women for hydrating, for skin hydration, and it was an aerosol you'd spray it on your face. So this article goes to describe the evolution of the water category, which we all now know is a really disgusting category, but anyways, an interesting business model. And so a light bulb went off in my head because, I think it was last year or the year before, bottled water outsold soda for the first time ever.
Yeah.
But light bulb went off saying, you know what, Ener-C is a category of one. It's a monopoly. Why not build a better animal? Why not build something that's unique and adds on to the category, much in the same way that you've got many brands out there that are trying to do one better than the incumbent. And in this case, we decided to go after the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, and I think we're fighting a good fight and adding and building the category, not just against one brand, but the whole idea is let's change the way people drink. Let's get people drinking healthy. Let's get people out of plastic bottles. Let's provide a really nutritious vitamin supplement drink that people are going to want to drink every day and keep them super healthy and naturally energized.
I like it.
That's pretty cool.
It's a pretty amazing story. Your dad plays such a big part.
When you sat back and looked at it, Rich, when you're going up against a beast like Pfizer, like what's in your head or what's in you that's thinking I can make a go of this?
It's interesting. It was never a choice. I was talking, and Kenny, my wife, and I was talking to Sarah, and we were talking about, I'm like, listen, I'm going to put everything on the line here. And it's not even a question of a David and Goliath story. This is the dung beetle on David's sandal. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not even David. I'm the dung beetle sitting on his sandal. And, we looked at each other and she said, well, what else are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't think I have a choice. And she says, of course you have no choice. You got to do it. And, I look at everything that we do is, it's about adventure. I keep saying to everybody, and, I think I've said this to you and everybody that I have the opportunity to work with. It's like, life is short. We were talking about aging earlier. Life is short. You've got to, do what you do is got to be filled with love and passion. Otherwise, you're wasting a really incredible opportunity that this life affords us all. So that's really what it comes down to me. It wasn't a choice. It was just, I had to do it. It was an idea. I had to follow through. I may get crushed, and the opportunity is, as we all know, 9 out of 10 times you're going to fail, but it's not about winning or losing. It's about how you manage yourself on the journey. I think, anyway.
I think you're right. I mean, I don't think you become an entrepreneur because you're adverse to risk, or because I think that entrepreneurs look at risk differently, right? Like, to us, risk isn't risk, it's an opportunity that you just need to realize, right? Like, I think if you play it safe, risk is the opposite of safe, right? I think to entrepreneurs, risk isn't that, it's, is this a good bet or not, and then is this an opportunity I must follow through on, right? Which we all say yes to. So
because I don't think we look at it as safe or unsafe. Yeah, it's just you look at it sort of the way you did, Rich. You look and think, well, I don't know, I just got to do it.
Yeah.
Where risk adverse, you look and you start doing you put it all on paper and you start weighing everything out, and you tend to go down paths. There's nothing wrong with this either. A lot of people think this way, but you'll make the story where you just won't do it because you're just risk adverse. With the typical entrepreneur, it's amazing how much turmoil we can turn into, sunshine, just because that's where we want it to go. Like, you don't look at, it's not risk. It's just little sort of barriers that you got to get through. This is maybe how we look at it, right? As opposed to anything else.
It's different, right? I mean, it's like, you got to remember, it's not like I constantly wear a diaper because I'm just shitting my pants every day.
Yep.
And so,
that's coming up in time too, by the way. A little closer now than it was 20 years ago. We're going to hang on to the age thing, that is. Well, if you guys want to play that game, we're going to go.
So, I mean, at least I'll be comfortable,
I'm used to it.
I'm used to it. But it's like, risk is interesting. It's like, I think Kenny's right. It's like, we don't, it's not something that, and going back to my dad again, I'm like, Dad, I was having a particularly hard time, early days with Emer-C. It was a struggle. I was selling boxes out of my 300Z and driving around town trying to get people to buy this stuff. And, I said, maybe I should go back to law school. Maybe I should really find some security and get a profession. And he turned around and he said, you know what, bud? He's like, I've got colleagues in the city that have been working for law firms for 15, 20 years, and the law firms dissolve. And then they go out and try and find a job and nobody takes them. And they're screwed and they got to go work in another field. So there is no such thing as security. There's only opportunity. And you have horrible worries that you're going to end up living in a shotgun shack somewhere in an undesirable neighborhood because everything went to pot. Mm-hmm. But, I think that we all sort of work towards better and finding those opportunities and knowing that there's security and opportunity no matter what. At least that's the faith that you've got to have.
Oh, that's so cool. I really love this story. And I'm really, your dad sounds like a pretty cool dude, right? Like how many parents who are professionals would say that to their kids, right? Like, don't worry about law school. Go do this thing. Go run away to Eastern Europe and sell beer.
Try to sell beer.
Yeah. Right. And here's a little money to do it. Maybe he just wanted to get rid of me because he thought I was going to be a liability later on. But
well, dads are pretty smart, eh?
Yeah. Well, I think most of us try to be.
No, we try to be anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. I would love. Do you mind just getting into the Ener-C thing a little bit? I think the audience would benefit from understanding that a little bit. I will say that the emergency stuff I really loved. I thought it was a good little product. I thought it had a really neat niche. You and I spoke about a year ago about Ener-C, and just fascinated by it, because I think what you're trying to do with it is pretty amazing, and your success is coming through for sure. So maybe tell the audience a little bit more about Ener-C.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty lucky. The reason I got the job back at Emer-C is because I've been involved in vitamin C and vitamins and minerals all of my life. I can't remember somebody what we were talking about earlier, but I had so many learning disabilities, and I can't remember if Kenny brought up something, but I had dyslexia, spatial disorders, ADHD, extreme hyperactivity. It was crazy. So the folks could have thrown me on Ritalin, which by all rights they should have done. But my grandfather lived next door to a guy by the name of Dr. Abram Hoffer, who was one of the founders of what's called the Orthomolecular Society. So back in the 70s, once again, aging myself, when I was growing up, there were a group of guys, Linus Pauling, who we all know, who's sort of the guy associated with vitamin C, not the founder of vitamin C. But Linus Pauling, Abram Hoffer, Albert C&C and Gorgie, Irwin Stone, all of these, not many people know their names anymore. But they founded this thing called the Orthomolecular Society, which was basically a group of doctors who got together and said, we believe we can treat physiological and issues through vitamin and mineral supplementation and diet alteration. So they put me on megadoses of vitamin C. This is at 3 years old. Megadoses of B vitamins, niacinamide, all stuff we now have in Ener-C, by the way, and remove sugar from my diet, refined sugar. And I was on this regimen from the time I was 3 until I was about 14. And lo and behold, my learning disabilities were treatable. My hyperactivity and ADHD went away. And that was really what endeared me in that story. It was what endeared me to the founder of Emer-C, and sort of he was my mentor. And so when just jumping into the Ener-C, when he passed away and the family decided to sell the business, everything that he had taught me about what he had wanted to do with this delivery format, the idea of mineral ascorbate vitamin C, which is the vitamin C that we have in Ener-C, which no longer in the other guys, but the bioavailability and how important vitamin C is to the body. People think vitamin C is simply something that we take for immunity, and actually it's not. If we remember the stories around scurvy and people's gums bleeding and eyeballs bleeding, that was just their cells breaking down because of collagen, and we're all familiar with collagen now, and how important that is for skin health. And so vitamin C was really important for what's called the interstitial cellular walls that keep our cells together and really help build up skin, build up hair, keep our bones strong, obviously keep immunity strong, and there's a whole mechanism. I'm not going to get into the technical, but with Ener-C, apart from the sort of the technical things and being a multivitamin, my whole belief is that 16-ounce single-use serve water bottles are done. We've destroyed our planet. And the products that go into these, apart from the water, are pretty much toxic, full of chemicals and sugar. So the idea is how do we build a brand? And really the whole idea around Ener-C is, we can have this natural energy through vitamin supplementation and hydration. And how do we get people to start drinking healthy, changing the way they drink, not using as much plastic, and everybody's got to move away from plastic, and really and build on that, and sort of let's get people moving away from Gatorade, which and some of these sports drinks, which are actually the marketing is insidious, so it's almost as good as cigarettes.
Yeah.
In that you drink these things at 56 grams of sugar, 52 grams of sugar, even 38 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
And they end up dehydrating you. They don't actually hydrate you. So you finish a Gatorade or a Powerade with sugar and you crave more because it's dehydrating because of the amount of sugar.
Yeah.
So, the whole idea behind Ener-C is how do we build a category? How do we, and it seems since we've started, we've done that. There have been other entries that have come on the market that are similar formats, different formulas, but how do we build that category, and how do we get people to start thinking differently about that? And I think we're making an impact not only with Ener-C but the category as a whole.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're definitely changing the conversation. Doing something new like this, what's your experience been like? Like my experience in things that, you're trying to set up where there isn't somebody before you. It's super cool, except, until you realize that, white space really means that is that nobody really understands you. So all the words you use, people go, what does all that mean? Like you were saying things. Did you have that experience, or did kind of people pick up on what you were trying to do right away?
Well, I had both of those experiences. So I had the first part of the experience where we were building a language, when we built that other brand, and then coming out and competing against myself, essentially, and the business we'd built. People were scratching their head in many ways when you come out and have a new entry into a category. I think people often will scratch their head and not understand.
Yeah.
The Journal of Consumer Research, I think it was in 2011, came out with an article talking about consumer behavior and the way that consumers will see a product that's a solo entry into a category, walk by, and 1 out of 10 people will stop and buy that product or consider that product. But if you add 2 or more, that jumps up to 6.6%. So, 6.5 people out of 10 all of a sudden jump. So just building the category sort of seems to enable the building of a pie, but the conversation entering that category and creating brand differentiation is not the easiest thing in the world. And that's sort of, I think, all brands' biggest struggle is either for number one, differentiation, or starting a new language. And it's that Peter Thiel thing, going from 0 to 1. If you're going to go the one route, you're building on a language. And if you're going from 0 to 1, you're creating a new language. So, I mean, it's hard either way.
How, like all industries are not made the same, but how long did it take you to kind of get base language going and for people to kind of understand what you were trying to do? Do you know, like, because I think, I think brands go through this all the time, and, how long is very subjective, but, and then were there any markers along the way that kind of made you kind of know that you were on the right track?
For me, I think for me anyway, a lot of knowing if you're on the right track is gut. And little things that you see out of your corner of your eye, that say, okay, I think we're working. I mean, you can look at the data, and you've got to look at the data every day. And or sorry, I'm being trained. You got to look at the data at least quarterly. That was a shot at Kenny.
I know, it's okay. I was going to say something, but I'll let you go.
But it's really that gut and that anecdotal with your B2C customers, your B2B customers, and speaking to them. And I think the most important thing is talking to people and listening, not feeding them. I had a habit early on of feeding people the lines that I wanted to hear back. And not shutting my mouth and opening my earballs, as my kids say. And so, you want to listen, and, timing, I think timing is different for every brand. And there's a brand that I'm doing a little advising for that's had built a brand new language in a category that existed, but they've done an incredible job in 3 years. I'm not going to mention the brand. Incredible. In Canada with Ener-C, I think we started getting real traction within 4 years. US, we've been down in the US for 4 years. We're struggling down in that market because there's so much noise down there. How do you rise above it? How do you get people to start speaking your language? It's an expensive market. But we're launching in Australia right now, where we're starting a new language because we are the first product in our format to ever be out there. So
that's cool.
It's interesting, you get to see the different sides, and but I think it's just about being patient and we were talking about it earlier today, and we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. It's just like, on that messaging and that language is really, keep it KISS as possible. Keep it simple and stupid. It's, that I saw the RX bars, which I'm a huge fan of their branding. I don't know if you guys have seen those. But you can buy them pretty much anywhere. I think they're probably doing $500 million right now. It's an amazing brand. But they just they're a very simple label, and they just list the 5 or 6 ingredients in every bar right on the front. And it's just that simplicity and that message, the simplicity of the messaging resonates. And I think, Kenny and I have been talking about it a lot lately, is how do we simplify? How do we really take things down? And not only on the branding, but also in the business. Because I think the simpler you can get, the better you understand your brand, and the simpler you can get in operating your business, the better you understand your business.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, the simpler, we've been working through that with one of the clients I'm, or NIMI, where I've been working, and for us, it's gone right back to why, right? Like, why are we doing it? I think you guys, you have such a clean, simple message for why you do it, that I feel like the pieces that come out of that should, lead you to a pretty simple way of doing it, right? Like the proposition is really simple. I hear you. Like, I think it sounds like you want to be able to pare that back even a little bit more, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Some things I think is important to think about is, though, you talk about us and it sounds simple, but Rich, maybe for some of the other people that are starting up and going through it is, you've got to get your message down, and you've got to believe in what you're doing. You got to have your why. But even with that, there's trials and tribulations all the way through. I mean, you can speak to the fact that financing, money, the resource that really counts, good human resource costs the other resource. Do you know what I mean? So, people struggle with a lot of it. You know what it's like. You can't do it on your own. Right. So there's a whole ton of things that got to play into it. Right?
It's, and really,
how did they get through it? How did you do it?
It's all people. It's, money is going to come if you have the right people. And I mean, and I'll say to anybody to their face, if you're doing it for, money is the most important indicator, but it's simply the gauges in your car, your rocket, or your airplane. Whatever you're driving, the money's just simply the gauges. And if you're doing it for the dough, then, good luck to you. Because if you're doing it for the business, then you've got to surround yourself with great people. Because really, if you've got great people around you, the money will come. A lot of the other problems will slip away. You're still going to have major problems, but I think, if you have great people in each department, who all, get it, want it, and have the capability of doing it, that's all you need. And you're going to have problems, but they'll help you get through it. There was a lady that I got to hear speak by the name of Dr. Rebecca Homkis, who's a strategist, and she's like, culture kills strategy. Culture kills strategy every time. No matter what problem you have, forget about strategy, surround yourself with the great people, and you'll overcome it. And that's really, I think, what it comes down to. HR is the most valuable and the most difficult resource to get right.
That's an interesting. I've heard that before. I think I've seen that in a lot of the startups I've worked with and the ones that I've worked with or worked in. Do you have, thinking about, these listeners that we have, what does great people mean to you? Like, so I've seen, the illustration I'll make is I've seen philosophies where people will hire someone who think like them. And similarly, I've found people who will hire someone who's the paradigm opposite because they need that kind of foil to be able to, kind of drive. Do you have, like key traits you look for, or is there a way that you go about hiring? I think that's something that like our listeners would, do struggle with, right? Is like, I hear that a lot. Like, you need great people, but like, what the hell? Like, what does great people look like? Like,
and what does it cost?
To be smart, like, yeah.
And how do I get them?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, well, two things. Number one, I mean, just to answer the first part of the question.
Yeah.
GAF is the key thing for me. Because there are not a lot of people with a high GAF quotient, and that's not mine. I haven't invented it. It's you give a fuck factor. I want people who give a fuck and have a heartbeat and who are passionate and who really want to enjoy and experience this journey of life. I mean, I used to say I wanted everybody to be happy in the business, mm-hmm. But then I think Ken shared with me an article that was awesome. That was about, forget about happiness. Happiness is important, yes, but fulfillment. And so to be able to have people who are passionate, fulfilled, curious, intelligent, I think you don't want people who are insecure. Mm-hmm. Because they tend to not really contribute and not really be curious. Curiosity, passion, and intelligence, of course. But most people who are curious and intelligent are passionate, mm-hmm. or who are curious and passionate are intelligent. And I think you can teach anything. I mean, I've got our VP of finance who started with me, 10 years ago as a demo rep. And she, while she was working, put herself through SFU Commerce, worked her way up the company, worked in marketing, worked in operations, mm-hmm. Then went into finances, putting herself through her CPA right now. So, I mean, it's just those type of people. I've got another, somebody else who's been with me for 10 years as well. And he's been, and his learning curve and his dedication and the way that he's been, focused on building the relationships and building our company and building our brands. I mean, for these people, I'd take a bullet, and I know they may not do the same for me, but they may for the company. And, and it's those type of people that, will be there and help you take it to the next level. Ken brings up a good point, is where the hell do you get the money from to pay for these talented people? And I think a lot of it is you have to, equity is gold. It really is. But if these people are the people that you believe are the right people, then you have to be able to say, listen, I'm willing to share in the spoils. But you have to be willing to share in a little bit of the downtime too. Sometimes it's a little bit more downtime than it is uptime, but I want to be able to build that and build, that for everybody in our company and generate wealth as opposed to just generating income. And if you want to,
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is, I think even for some of the listeners, when they hear that, I don't think anybody would necessarily disagree, but I can see people thinking, that's great, but how do I pay for these people? I've got my idea and I've got my product and I'm getting things going, but cash flow is always a problem. Can I get payroll this week? Are they going to make it? Are they going to stick with me? Like, there's other tricks to it too, I guess, is what I'm getting at, is that, you got the financial resources have to be there as well. And you've had experience in that. And that's why I'm I went down this path sort of twice, is because all the other stuff's critical, but you got to make sure that people understand that it does cost. And there are things you have to consider and things you may have to look at. You've had to make some different decisions.
For sure.
That I want you to just, highlight quickly, but so they understand that it doesn't just happen, right?
No, I mean, and talking about wearing diapers, there's three ways to get money. Your savings, which is super scary, and at the end of the day, a lot of those savings ain't going to be enough.
Right.
The next way is through equity and giving up what is your gold. It's the only thing you've got. You've put your entire life into it, and you're going to give up some of your equity. And then the number 3 thing is debt. And debt is, in my opinion, much more scary than equity. Because at the end of the day, equity, you're getting somebody who's getting into bed with you and going to cuddle with you figuratively through the good times and the bad times. Mm-hmm. Debt is in a situation whereby you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
If somebody calls a debt note on you, your business is gone.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
And at least, and it's really not, it's not really a nurturing type of way to build a business. Listen, people want to do it. They want to hold on to their equity. They want to say, listen, this is my idea. This is my baby. But debt is a very dangerous way to do it. And if you can find somebody who's strategic to be able to come into the business and give a little piece to that, you're not only going to get their money to help grow the business, but you're also going to get their brain, which is probably more important than their money. But as to Ken's point, you need to pay for people, because people ain't going to work for air.
When you do it, Rich, are you looking more, again, small companies have these issues. Are you looking for more of like a VC play, like a venture capitalist play, where you run a whole bunch of other risks? Or are you tapping into known resources, maybe people in the industry or people have already done it? I mean, because trust is a big deal too, right? I mean, debt looms. And I agree with you. I think debt is one of those things that just freaks you out, because, banks have no feelings. People who lend money typically don't have a shitload of feelings. Yeah. And when they start getting scared, they call the debt and you're done. You're right. Once you get someone in with you who has an equity play or has some skin in the game, we'll call it is a different game. But, VC is different than like venture capitalists might be different than tapping into, I don't know, wherever else you tap into, whether it's friends, family, other people in the industry, et cetera. So in your experience, which have you done? Have you done both? Have you done one more than the other?
So I've done, I did in a previous life, I did a little VC money, and I didn't like it. I just found it cold, too demanding, and
like another form of debt almost.
It was another form of debt, and just really not, I didn't feel it was collaborative or nurturing for the business. And then I've done.
Right. That's the end of this Commerce Life. We'll be back soon with the next episode. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. Give us feedback. Tell us what you think. Subscribe, like us, join us, share us, tell your friends about us. And we hope to see you next time with more commerce news.